This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
This episode is brought to you by Bumble. So, you want to find someone you're compatible with, specifically someone who's ready for a serious connection, totally open to having kids in the future, is a tall, rock-climbing Libra, and loves rom-coms with vegan pizzas on Tuesdays just as much as you do. Bumble knows that you know exactly what's right for you. So whatever it is you're looking for, Bumble's features can help you find it. Date now on Bumble.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. I've got a fascinating guest for you today, Kai Müller, coming out of Europe, and he is a consumer neuroscientist. And today's talk is all about neuroscience, consumer behavior, marketing, entrepreneur. It's a really interesting area, and which is why I want to bring him on the show and kind of enlighten the audience and welcome Kai to the show. Welcome, Kai.
Thank you, Christopher. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, you've got an interesting background because you spent time at the NIH, you studied neuroscience, you've done startup consulting, and now you're in academia. Talk about your journey, and I'm really excited about the conversation.
Yeah, I started out in Germany, actually, at the University of Tübingen. I thought about becoming a child psychotherapist or something like that as my first semesters in psychology, but very soon I recognized I want to do brain research. And that has been staying with me ever since, doing neuroscience. After my master's degrees in psychology and in neuroscience, I had the chance to go for 4 years to the NIH in Bethesda, Maryland, Greater Washington, D.C. Back in the days under George Bush. I spent basically 4 years at the U.S. government, doing basic brain research. I investigated how the brain creates colors and faces and shapes and things like that. And studied a lot in the visual system, doing various brain scans and psychological and psychophysical experiments. Yeah, and then I came back to Germany. I did something totally different. I thought I have to get somewhat like a real job now, and started in management consulting. It started with the world's leading pricing management consultancy, Simon Kucher and Partners. And it was fun. And I learned business for 2 years. It was great. I still have friends there. Good company. But I wanted to dig deeper because sometimes we would launch a product and, well, one of the main issues was, for example, what is the perceived value in the customer? That could be the physician, or that could be a payer for B2B, or that could be a consumer. We would ask, how much are you willing to pay? And then you would get an answer where you actually knew that it's possibly not the right answer, because, if you really want to have a product and you're part of the right target group, you may give me any kind of answer, but probably it's rather a low answer. You are not revealing how much you're really willing to pay for a product.
Yeah.
And then I founded a startup where I used neuroscience and psychological methods to understand the true willingness to pay for products. And yes, I ran that startup. It was an startup based out of the University of Tübingen initially, and later as a standalone company. And yeah, it was an amazing roller coaster journey, as any startup is, I guess. And in the end, I sold the technology to a fabulous partner, a long-standing fabulous partner, another neuromarketing consumer neuroscience research company in Amsterdam called Neurensics. And I got on board with Neurensics, and I'm very happy to be director of pricing research with Neurensics now. But this is just a side job. In my other life, in my full-time job, I'm also a professor of consumer behavior these days, with a small college in the Black Forest, back home around Greater Stuttgart at HFU, Furtwangen University, HFU Business School. And it's also an amazing job. And I also love doing that. And I love doing some basic research again. It goes back to the roots somehow.
What a fantastic journey. And I can sense your optimism and just your enthusiasm. And most people, like, they're doing stuff that they're creative, and especially in academia, research, they're really passionate, and because they're learning and they're giving back. One thing that really intrigues me is this idea of the platform economy and everything around it. Today's economy revolves around platforms and brands and businesses and network scaling. So I'm curious, just for my own edification, what is the psychology of the platform economy? What is that?
Yeah, this is also something that I deal with in depth in my consumer psychology classes, because I think there are many revolutions and there have been many disruptions, but in my perception, the platforms have been the biggest disruption in industry. They have just created like a new economy. It's a new way of economic approaching. It's no longer economies of scale. It's called economies of demand. So it's no longer that in the old days, if you could manufacture many pieces of something, it would become cheaper and you would be profitable. Now with platforms, if you look at places like Amazon Marketplace or Uber, this is today, this is like, the more people there are, the more attractive these platforms become, right? It's no longer a competition on things, but it just becomes more attractive to sell stuff there and also to search for things there. For example, to search for a ride, or to search for something you want to buy on a marketplace, as well as the same on eBay. Or there are, let's say, very new marketplaces. Like in the old days, if you wanted to play chess, you would have to go to a chess club. And these days there are platforms like Lichess or chess.com, and you can go on them and you can play chess any minute you like, and you will find a partner to play with of any strength, and that makes these platforms very attractive. It's fascinating. There are these same side and cross side pull effects that really pull people to these platforms, so that they become attractive just by being there, and they become attractive by having a lot of people. eBay is a great example. A lot of people that sell something and a lot of people that buy something. So now it becomes, for both sides, even more attractive. And there are mechanisms that are not out there in other businesses, which is also maybe problematic. There are winner takes all mechanisms, for example. Turns out to be 1, 2, 3 platforms in a specific niche, and that's it, right? And all the others, there've been maybe like 25 attempts, and the other 20 businesses, they failed, which as a startup entrepreneur, I understand that this is also very hard for people then to fail there. But this is the new economy with these new pull effects, with these psychological pull effects, and with these very rough effects of weeding out new businesses.
Yeah. Very fascinating, because I really started to really take interest when I saw Airbnb, because that's like it's more valuable than like Hilton, Marriott, like some of the top brands, but Airbnb has no real estate. They own no real estate, and they're more valuable than like Hilton and Marriott. So there's something it's really fascinating, because you talked about networks and then culture, communities, and all these things are becoming assets and are becoming tangible items of value that you can trade on the public markets, or create businesses out of, Facebook Marketplace, all these different, you can sponsorship, advertising, sell products, which is really interesting.
From the consumer psychology perspective, there's also something very interesting happening, because people have become, while through the internet and through all this digital world, we have somehow become more distant. we have also become more trustful to somehow, and Airbnb is a great example. Suddenly we let complete strangers into our basement apartment just because just based on some reviews that some other strangers gave these strangers, and we suddenly trust these reviews. It's amazing, right? They're coming up all these funny startups, like, you can now rent some stranger's boat, or you can rent some stranger's lawnmowers or so forth. And
Yeah.
if you get good ratings and the people know yet you bring back the lawnmower in good shape, it's fine. It's good for you, right? But still,
Yeah.
it could be that you are to some degree a stranger, and that's
It was really interesting because a lot of times, when I was meeting a certain, like a client or like a customer, I would give them my eBay link or my Airbnb link, just to add more credibility. And a lot of times I ask for social media to see, to verify, are they real, or, are they people you can trust? And it's really interesting how the internet's allowed scalability of trust. Now you can, trust people from across the world, and you don't even have to meet them in person. Which kind of brings me to this idea, because I'm really fascinated with the public markets, and especially with just kind of a lot of boom bust cycles and speculation mania. How does psychology of this platform economy play out in the public markets, especially with like for example, like AI now starting to get really hot, and people are just pouring in money, and it's I'm starting to see the signs of early or bubbles. So talk about that.
Sorry, no, I just lost my voice, but I'm back. The entire AI thing also is also something somehow a danger for this entire trust industry, because
Yeah.
it can create bots, it can create fake profile reviews. Yeah, there's a lot of things that now I think it's like that. There's always waves of new innovations. And in the beginning, for example, Wikipedia was a very untrustworthy source. There's now so many people working on it. Fake profiles have been weeded out. It became better and better. In the early days, same thing with YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube, it was very low quality. The initial videos are very, very low quality. But it's over time, there are quality mechanisms, and sorry. Yeah, these quality mechanisms, they kick in. Yeah, so these quality mechanisms, they kick in at some point. And I'm confident that at some point with AI and with our novel way of approaching technologies, we will also find ways to take care of the quality issues that are there now. There'll be new ways of validating people, and in the initial wave, it's always a bit of a Wild West world. It goes back to working regularly.
Yeah, I love that. How can people find out more about you? I know you do a lot of consulting, and you teach as well, speaking. How can people find out more about you and follow you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So follow me on LinkedIn for sure. I've also written a book recently with a co-author called Gabriel Reebok. And the book is called The Invisible Game: The Secrets and the Science of Winning Minds and Winning Deals. And that is a book about how we can apply consumer psychology to the B2B sale, to the professional sale. And you told me your audience consists of people like lawyers, doctors, maybe owners of advertising agencies. And it's written for these people that need to sell a professional deal, and want to understand the psychology behind it, and want to understand the consumer psychology that you really may want to know in order to win the deal.
I love that. And for all the audience out there, let's thank Kai for coming on. And neuroscience and consumer behavior and neuropsychology is a really fascinating field. Be sure to check out his book. It's on Amazon. Give him a like and follow on socials. And with that, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Chris.